This week in the news: possible delay for the Steam Machine, Epic redesigns their launcher, Capcom cripples their own game, Ashes of Creation burns down after launch, Highguard struggles, and more on this week's Old Man Rages at the News. Before we get into the content, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and let's get on with the show. We're kicking off this week with Valve. The company is back at it again, and this time Kotaku decided to stick their hands in the deadlock jar. To my shock, it doesn't criticize the game. I know, one of the few rare instances where a journalist actually fucking behaves like one and just shows how things are. Pinch me, I must be dreaming! Ow. No, I'm not. Yes, I read the whole article, and all they do is just talk about how the new Street Brawl mode, which is basically pick 3 random items from 3 different sets and go fetch the souls of your enemy. It doesn't include any form of farming. It's just simulating an American school, the essence of a shooter game. It also changes the format from a 6v6 to a 4v4. Additionally, the Steam Machine might be getting delayed. Steam came out with the launch timing and the FAQ about its Steam hardware relating to the controller, machine, and frame. Before the FAQ, they talked about how the plan was to release the pricing and date announced this time, but due to memory and storage shortage, they had to revise the plans. Gee, thanks AI industry, we really love ya. Fucking hell. Anyways, while their goals are the same, to launch it in the first half of this year, they haven't worked out a concrete plan to do so. This is the majority of the FAQ, however, there is one question that grabbed my attention. How well can the Steam Machine play newer, more demanding games on Steam? To which they responded with, in our testing, the majority of Steam titles play great at 4K 60fps with FSR on Steam Machine. That said, there are some titles that currently require more upscaling than others, and it may be preferable to play at lower frame rate with VRR to maintain a 1080p internal resolution. In the meantime, we're working on HDMI VRR, investigating improved upscaling, and optimizing ray tracing performance in the driver. So we're approaching this from multiple angles. Alright, well, that's all well and good. Personally, I'd prefer higher frame rates at 1080p or 1440p considering, if you're getting a small factor computer from Valve, that doesn't exactly make a whole lot of sense having your monitors at multiple angles. Personally, I'd prefer a higher frame rate at 1080p or 1440p over 4K 60fps, but that's just me. Ultimately, this is something that people can, hopefully, get without having to sell their kidneys for it. Again, big thanks to the AI industry for fucking up personal computers. Sticking with storefronts, Epic finally admitted that their launcher sucks. Now, if the CEO admits that supporting the lawsuit against Valve was a mistake, the world might begin to heal. We're gonna have a second moon before Tim Sweeney admits he's jealous of Gaben's yacht, isn't he? Anyways, back to the storefront. All it took was for them to lose some monthly and daily active users alongside 14% of total store gameplay hours to realize that the store needs an overhaul. So, the vice president and general managers, Steven Allison, admitted to Eurogamer that they need to fix stuff and they're hyping it out. And I quote, "We got a lot of stuff out the door last year, and this year is going to be probably the best year for that stuff on the big rocks." Chief, you're bringing community spaces. Something that Valve has had for, off the top of my head, almost 2 decades now, give or take. But in this day and age, you need to have this shit day one. Otherwise, you're not holding on to people, They finally grew a brain at least, and in Q2 this year they will add avatars, player profiles, private messages alongside voice chat, both of which will have cross-platform abilities, and a cross-platform library in autumn. Yeah, avatars, player profiles, private messages, missing at launch. A very smart move, Tim. Very smart move. Voice chat as well at being added. Oh boy. Watch that thing be worse than Blizzard's voice chat. I would laugh my ass off if that happened. And funnily enough, they bring up the subreddit r/fuckepic, and they claim to respect them. I personally don't trust these people and their claims, and here's why. The subreddit literally calls out the CEO whenever he does something stupid. Not only that, but in this post, people agree with the top commenter who wrote, "At this point, even if Epic actually fixes all their problems with EGS, poor performance, lack of community features, nonsensical recommendations and reviews, etc., I don't see myself using it. There's too much bad blood over forced exclusivity, anti-Steam lawsuits, and Timmy Tencent's terminally online behavior." Man, Timmy Tencent. Never heard of that one. Man, Timmy Tencent. That's a new one. And if they truly respected them, as they said, not only would they have changed their behavior a long time ago, but we wouldn't be seeing messages like this one. You know, Timmy Tencent, get on it. Respect them more. Yeah, let's be real. They're trying to cover their asses because of all of the losses they have. Moving on, the market is melting, all because of a new AI tool. Yippee! Just what the doctor ordered. Well, Google announced Project Genie that can turn any game into a walking simulator. Because that's what people want to play according to every monkey in a suit apparently. At least the Minecraft AI game allowed you to do stuff besides walking. But then again, that's another can of worms. Now, this guy also huffs copium thinking that this tool will help save development time. My man been living in the 1980s and probably believes the future involves flying cars at this point. Maybe he's too busy bending tubes for his supposed ever-evolving custom water loops to realize that nobody in their right mind finds this useful or even entertaining. He even pointed out earlier that the tech is high as fuck, hallucinating something that isn't supposed to be there. Who knows? Maybe if we feed it Assassin's Creed Shadows, it might pull out a better game. And again, the bar there isn't set that high. The investors are also on the same mindset that as the dude, because the moment this thing came out, they just fucking pulled out and caused the stocks of Roblox, Nintendo, CDPR, and a lot of other gaming companies take a nosedive. Almost as if they're wising up to something. Nah, must be delusions on my side. I hope the ones that are left at least are the same ones who don't know shit about the gaming industry. Maybe then we'll have something tangible that isn't just a half-baked game sold for 400% of its value. And now, for Capcom's poor choice of the month. Capcom did something that can only be considered stupid. They removed the Nuvo and replaced it with a Russian DRM in the latest Resident Evil 4 Remake update. The funniest part is that the Resident Evil 4 Remake crack already exists, so they're actively shooting themselves in the foot for no reason. Talk about stupidity, considering the game also goes on discount almost every other month. Hell, there's even a video by KoiCat that compares the performance difference between the Nuvo and the new Enigma DRM. Spoiler alert, it just performs worse than the Nuvo. Like, how the fuck is that even possible, for crying out loud? I'll just let it play out so you can look at yourself. Disappointing.
Anyone home?
Welp, something stupid happened. Minecraft is releasing a free DLC about the civil rights movement. Dear lord. Reducing people to a few bits and pieces of code is so brain dead. I can't believe they actually decided to do this. For those who have 2 or more functioning brain cells, you would know that a game geared towards kids and creative people would not mix well with this. Which is why they had to log their posts, since most of their replies echoed statements like these. If they truly wanted to teach people about what Gandhi or similar people actually did, they should have just done it in a different way. Now, let me elaborate a little bit, because this really deserves a bit more this time. Minecraft is predominantly targeting the young demographic. Hell, you can see it has an E for everybody rating. And that same demographic would not be able to grasp what is actually going on. Sure, they'll learn about Gandhi's role in India's independence, but I don't think they'll talk about how terrible British colonial policies were. Another reason why this is a problem is because games are supposed to be just purely entertainment. Whether it's reading a visual novel or fighting the Lich King for a 10,000th time and hoping Invincible's reigns drop, it's just meant to be for enjoyment. Or you're doing it out of frustration in the latter case, in which you do you. Good luck, have fun. So now, with that in mind, it's kind of fucked up to think about the idea of reducing these activities down to entertainment. Very well thought out, Microsoft, I gotta say. You guys hired the smartest monkeys in all the land to make you the best DLC ever. Clowns. Now, thankfully, this isn't something that's forced down people's throats, so we can all just pretend it never existed, like how we did a year ago. Or we can just point and laugh at Microslop for putting this in the game. Now, Minecraft isn't the only one who fumbled with their PR, because Halo once again is pandering to communities. They posted another tweet celebrating Black History Month. This time they had the foresight to lock replies. So much for allowing people to celebrate alongside them, I suppose. Still, that doesn't stop people from quote tweeting. I personally feel bad for the Halo fans out there, considering their franchise used to be known for being a great shooter experience, and now is known for virtue signaling. On the bright side, Microslop is 2 for 2 this month so far with stupid decisions. Yay! And now we have an easy dub to go over. Zelnick confirmed that generative AI has zero part in what Rockstar Games is building. Now, for those who are not aware or have been living under a rock, that's Take-Two Interactive CEO. He talked to game industry about the company and its relations with machine learning and AI, then further elaborated, and I quote, "That said, do I think tools by themselves create great entertainment properties? No. There's no evidence that that's the case, and it wouldn't be the case in the future. Specifically with regards to GTA 6, generative AI has zero part in what Rockstar Games is building. Their worlds are handcrafted. That's what differentiates them. They're built from the ground up, building by building, street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood. They're not procedurally generated. They shouldn't be. That's what makes great entertainment." Man is absolutely aware what the audience wants to hear. Other companies can learn a thing or two from that. And now it's time for another lesson on how not to manage a company. A former Ubisoft employee criticized the return to office policy, and now that very same employee got the boot. David McCalcrop. Yes, that's his name, and I most likely butchered it, but we'll roll with it. Was team lead at Ubisoft and openly criticized the company's policy on his LinkedIn account. His post questioned the policy because the team proved they could deliver results remotely, which led to Ubisoft giving him a 3 days unpaid suspension. The situation escalated further with the dude getting fired from his job. WCCF Tech reached out to Ubisoft for a response, and what seemed to be once in a blue moon, they actually got a response. Ubisoft replied by stating that employees are allowed to share feedback and opinions as long as it's done respectfully. Sure, Chief, sure, and according to the company, expressing criticism does not lead to termination. Oh boy. This LinkedIn post and the video linked, which is made by Damon Cassidy, is respectfully talking about why companies are forcing people back into the office. Ubisoft pointed out its internal code of conduct, which outlines expectations for professional behavior, and employees are required to review and sign this code every year. Ubisoft further claimed that the guidelines were breached, but as far as I can see, none of that actually happened. Then again, not exactly a legal lawyer. As far as I can see, none of that actually happened. Unless the person who's reviewing that statement was so thin-skinned that you can see his blood vessels. Or her blood vessels. Anyways, you get the point. Here's David's other post talking about the suspension for alleged breach of loyalty, which again is fully professional. Makes you wonder now, doesn't it? Now, Ubisoft union representatives call for Yves Guillemot to leave the company. Well, would be happy if it wasn't, well, done on multiple occasions. Wouldn't be the first time the dude was told to leave his own company. Most likely won't be the last. This info came from games developer who talked with Mark Rochella and Shakib Matawi, and I'm most likely butchering the names. Anyways, who ply their trade at Ubisoft Paris and serve as union representatives for Solidaires Informatique. Both of them shared their views about the company's sweeping reset that kicked off studio closures, game cancellations, and cost-cutting measures. Multiple messages were viewed by game developers, suggesting that the initial response to the announcement was one of widespread shock, disbelief, and condemnation, and in which Guillemot himself was called out in multiple messages posted on the company's internal communications platform, with some employees questioning why he remains in charge. I mean, it's not just the employees who are questioning why he's still in charge, but that really isn't surprising now, is it? Anyways, with that announcement, both the union representatives feel like Guillemot should leave the company if there is any hope for the company to regain the trust of employees. Mark Rushla doesn't believe Ubisoft's struggles are only because of Guillemot. He said, it's his company at the end of the day, but everyone around him are just yes men. That was also the issue during the sexual harassment scandal in 2020. I mean, nobody's gonna be surprised when I tell you that he even said that he expects nothing from Guillemot. Now, up until this point, that's where I 100% agree with them. From here on out, I don't think they have it all figured out. Considering Chikaib Matoi had a problem with the co-CEO Charlie Guillemot, with his problem being, and I quote, if you just put your white male friends in those jobs, then you don't promote any diversity or get any new opinions or ideas. Yes, fucking DEI bullshit yet again. Now, what these people don't want you to realize, let's be real, everybody with some common sense realized this a long time ago. Ideas aren't tied to genetics, they're tied to how people grew up and their knowledge, not to their fucking skin color like he implied. There are other reasons to hate Charlie Guillemot. Not promoting DEI ain't one of them, chief. Now, both the union representatives also call out the return to office policy, which showed complete disregard for people's well-being and livelihoods, with Matoi saying most employees were very panicked by the announcement because they started their lives very far from Paris and from the studio. And now they're being asked to come back knowing that their paycheck doesn't help with living in the Paris area. With Rutler adding that Ubisoft previously struck agreements with some employees to facilitate a level of remote working. The Ubisoft Union does have a strike plan from the 10th to the 12th of February, but if the Reddit strike taught me anything is that if you tell the opponent for how long you're gonna do it, it will result in nothing happening. Let's see what's gonna happen next Friday at this point, considering this is, set from Tuesday to Thursday, so yeah, chances are by Friday we'll know exactly how badly they failed. And now for the dumpster fire that crushed the hopes and dreams of Kickstarter backers. Ashes of Creation just imploded, shocking no one that a Kickstarter project died in a blaze of mismanagement. Well, at least they lived up to their name. This has been brewing for quite a while, but I'll just give the most recent info I could find. Mainly because there was a lot of info, and a few of the stories had to be cut out because of it. Margaret Crone here, who used to work as the director of communications in Interpid Studio, got fired and posted this message on her LinkedIn page, thanking the community and the team who worked on the game. More on her later. Then we had the CEO himself make a public statement reading, "I can make a limited statement in my personal capacity and not on behalf of the company regarding the situation. Control of the company shifted away from me and the board began directing actions that I could not ethically agree with or carry out. As a result, I choose to resign in protest rather than lending my name or authority to decisions that I could not ethically support. Following my resignation, much of the senior leadership team resigned. Following those departures, the board made a decision to issue a WARN Act notice and proceeded with a mass layoff. And to put it in simpler terms, the whole studio imploded. Yay! In the Reddit post where I found this statement, the user Varnarok posted an imager link where the CEO previously stated that there is no greedy corporate overlords or any board to answer to. About that. Now, people didn't really have to wait that long for Margaret to speak up again, as 2 days later she posted this long tweet in which she wrote, "On January 28th, towards the end of the workday, I was informed that we would be laying off 100 developers. I was devastated. These are hardworking people who are going to lose their jobs. Still, I believed it was something we could face together and find a path forward from." On January 29th, I shared this information confidentially with my game services team, told them that changes were coming, that I did not yet know who would be affected, and that I wished I had more certainty to offer. I could not live with myself if I did not give them advance notice. These are people who deserve to be treated like human beings. By the end of that day, I received information of which people on my team would be impacted. On January 30th, I spoke individually with each of my team members to let them know whether they were affected, so they could begin planning and preparing. Those who were staying began working on ways to move forward. Even those who knew they would be leaving offered their support, showing grace, professionalism, and strength that defined our game services team. On January 31st, we were all informed via a confusing email that we would be laid off, along with a warn notice. This is still shocking. The entire studio gathered to try to understand what happened and what it meant for our future. Mind you, she even pointed out that no one got their final paycheck, a 60-day notice, nor a pay outlined under the WARN Act. These motherfuckers dumped them out on the street like yesterday's garbage, for fuck's sake. Now, looking for this email, I found this tweet showing off the email employees received. The email confirmed that the final payroll couldn't be processed due to company's financial condition and that a WARN Act was sent out. This email was posted by a Twitch streamer, not by an employee, so take it with a grain of salt. Another thing that also dropped is alleged DMs from Steven Sheriff, where he insulted content creators in private. I don't know the full context of this, but calling people doomers for what I assume is not liking the game is a bit weird. The good thing is that At the very least, there are people who are able to successfully get refunds, with even a guide showing how to get a refund on Steam and Kickstarter. Benji also shows you how to remove the Discord tracker bot from your Discord and how to prevent your data from being sold in case someone picks up the game, all in the effort to just sell the information from it. Now, I do need to preface this, but there's so much going on right now and so much is still unknown that we won't have the full picture for a while. At the very least, don't shit on the devs and let cooler heads prevail. So far, Steam has, been willing to step in on behalf of gamers if their tickets get reviewed by a human being. So if you've bought the game on Steam, go with Benji's guide, get a refund, and hopefully later down the road we figure out what exactly happened here. Moving on, it ain't looking good for Highguard. I saw this post over on their subreddit. Shockingly, it was logged the moment I found it. Yeah, color me surprised, I know. The game only had 2,884 players at the time of writing. Ex-developers of Apex Legends working on this, by the way. I can probably guess why they're ex-developers, but that's beside the point. Now, the player base did shoot back up, but I do agree with the poster when it says the game might not survive February. Hell, you never know. The game might die before I release my next video for all we know. Now, because I like to rub salt in the wound, I also want to go over this pure copium over here. Specifically, Games Radar trying to prop up the 5v5 update. They talk about it and how many people wanted it alongside showing off the tweet where it was stated to be added. Then they made a mistake of going to Reddit. They linked a post celebrating the 5v5 like it's one of the 12 Herculean labors, when first of all it's in a fucking echo chamber, and second of all, this creature got more traction than the whole update. Now, jokes aside, if they really want me to celebrate for this game, they'll need to remove their goddamn community manager, because that thing is a freak. And not the good kind. Well, don't believe me? Here, just take a look at Madame Savvy's tweet and, just shows that the community manager is purely focused on virtue signaling and nothing more. Surprise, I know. And to wrap up the week, IGN is attacking Crimson Desert. Now let's see what they have issues with exactly. They first bring up what they suspect influences the game, which is fair, but holy fuck, they shot themselves in the foot with the next statement. They stated they played the game a few months back on their IGN first and having good few hours into it and wrote, and I quote, "Despite playing a good few hours of it and having quite a lot of fun with its dynamic systems and satisfyingly flexible action, I still left feeling like I'd only scratched the surface of what Crimson Desert has in store. And I don't mean that entirely positively. While it's good to leave a preview knowing there's plenty more to see, it's not often you conclude a studio visit still unsure of a game's big picture. If all of those hours of hands-on haven't successfully communicated what the game is something off? My brother in illiteracy. What do you mean something is off? What are you, a fucking shonen protagonist or something? The power trip is there, I just worry about the rest of the journey." That was a quote from the article. You can't just make this shit up. Apparently you can't write an honest fucking review now, can you? But who am I to judge, right? But let's be real here. Who paid you off? Be honest with us, and we won't have to tickle you. Writing all of this just makes you appear as a fucking negative Nancy. Nobody likes anyone like that. You admitted you liked the idea and then you took, a 2-hour bus ride back from the statement just so your corporate overlords can remind you to only promote slop? This is fucking pathetic. Not only do these journals also say play the game before criticizing it, but now I see it's just a rule for thee, not for me type of deal. Spoiler alert, it always was. Game Rant is also ranting about how much they don't like the game. Surprise, surprise. They just straight up imply the systems are stolen from Red Dead Redemption from the title alone. Like, how do these people function on a daily basis, for crying out loud? Anyways, that's all for this week. Before I blow a gasket here reading all of that slop, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and I'll see you next time.